everybody. Welcome to the Francast. We're here to talk about 3 more episodes of The Nanny because we really love the show. We love talking about it. I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Larry's here.
Hello.
Yes, and Colleen is here.
Hello.
Yes, so we're on episodes 14, 15, 16 of season 1. And I have to say, these 3 episodes were very not the greatest fashion.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. Well, one of the episodes was another one of those where she basically just wore the same thing the whole episode.
The whole episode.
So we got another one. It all takes place in a day, and she doesn't change.
Mm-hmm.
Weird.
And she doesn't wear a robe. So I don't know. I'll bring it up in the episode. I thought it was very strange, actually, but yes.
So, yeah, we were kind of spoiled, well, especially the last episode, with a million outfits every episode. But these ones, not so much. So let's dive in. So our first episode is called The Family Plumbing. And this basically, the main plot is that Fran insists that her uncle comes to fix the pipes at the plumbing in the Sheffield house, and he brings Uncle Irving brings his granddaughter over named Tiffany, and Tiffany and Brighton get pretty chummy, and and Fran sees Mr. Sheffield in a whole new way. So Larry, what was your overall thoughts about this episode?
Rachel, did you come up with that little last tagline, or was it written out beforehand?
No, that's original, I swear. If you look at my notes.
I'm shaking my head, Rachel. You just can't see it. No. I actually remember this episode because, of course, I remember that scene with her walking in. I thought this was a fun episode. I liked little mini-me version of Fran, her little cousin. I think it was a funny episode overall.
Yeah. What did you think, Colleen?
I thought it was a cute one as well. What was her cousin? The second cousin twice removed, something like that.
Basically a neighbor,
Yes.
stranger.
I thought it was a good episode. I mean, we knew there was going to be the inevitable seeing someone in the buff at some point, down the with Fran and Maxwell. I thought it was cute too. I enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I liked it too. I thought it was fun, and whenever you get Fran kind of freaking out, that's always going to be a fun episode, and you get quite a bit of it here. Yes. And there's also these 3 episodes finally had some more good Niall Cece jabs.
Yes.
And I felt like we've been missing that in the last couple episodes. So I enjoyed that. So basically, Fran comes down, and this is the only outfit of the whole episode. She's in black pants, a white fluffy blouse, and a plaid vest. Mm-hmm. And everybody's upset because they're like, "How did you look like that?" Because the water's out. And she's like, "I went through my whole stash of moist towelettes." And so, that's why we only see the one outfit the whole episode.
Yeah, it just is really weird because literally every other episode she comes to breakfast in her
robe.
Right.
And literally the one time everybody else is in their pajamas, she comes down dressed. And she seemingly didn't have anywhere to be. She was around the house all day. So I was like, why did she not come down in her robe? But yeah, it's quite odd.
Well, it was solely for the gag. Yeah, so that they could get the gag. And so basically you have the Mr. Sheffield. He does not want to use the Uncle Irving, the plumber from Fran. I mean, you'd think his experience with her uncle, who's the dentist, would.
And then we hear about this electrician that he's used through her. I'm like, hello.
Yes, and like one of the good lines I thought that they had was CC says, "I'm trying to set up my beauty appointments," and I think Niall says, "I hope there's not a toll call."
Yes.
and so I think so this girl Tiffany, she's kind of she's sarcastic and supposed to be kind of a mini Fran, and at first they're expected to kind of play together, Tiffany and Brighton, and at the same time they're auditioning all these showgirls for the musical. And I did like it when they say when they like Mr. Sheffield's grungy look. It's like that was very 1993, I think. Grungy. and and so then she finds Tiffany and Brighton kissing, and so that was interesting. And what did you think about the whole thing, Colleen, with Mr. Sheffield having kind of this double standard? I mean, like, oh yeah, Brighton, way to go.
Well, did he say, wait, Brighton's 11, right? So he said he didn't have, you mean about the kiss? Like having the first kiss his surprise?
Yeah, and he's like, oh, you beat me, you beat your old man.
I don't know. I mean, it's some macho thing with some people about having their first kiss. I don't know. Because
Maggie wants to go to this makeout party, which what on earth?
Which is, why would you say that out loud to anybody?
Yeah.
I mean, to like your family members. And I'm going to sleep over, but I'm not having a makeout. I mean, come on. They can interject and think what they want, but don't like advertise that you're going to make it.
I mean, and also, I mean, I don't know. I guess some people are more forward thinking than me, but that would be like, well, I'm not going to that party. That sounds horrible. I mean, I understand like playing maybe Spin the Bottle or
7 minutes in heaven,
yeah.
Rachel.
Yes.
I mean, I never played it, but I at least understand it more as like a game.
Yes.
Close to the whole theme of the party. We're gonna get together and make out.
Coupled off Noah's Ark style on the guest list.
What? Yeah, I would definitely pass on that party.
We never really did. We were more of a truth or dare kind of thing with my friends, But I'm sorry. It's a double standard for sure. Like men, I feel like with some men, especially in this era, and the 80s and my generation growing up, it's kind of like a macho thing. Like, oh, I had my first kiss. Like, how can you get what? The earlier the better, but then the women and the girls, it's just like, no way, hands off. It's definitely weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Fran says men can't be rushed. They're like chickens. If you cook them too fast, they'll be tough. And so she kind of gets it with Mr. Sheffield. But I did also like when he says, did you see anything? And she says, I didn't see anything except your double standard.
Yeah,
so that was pretty good. And I also liked when she said Maggie needs to learn how to handle 14-year-old boys. So when she grows up, she can handle grown men who, when you think about it, are a lot like 14-year-old boys. Yeah.
Exactly, like kind of what I was saying. It's like the maturity level doesn't necessarily go up all that much as you get older.
Yeah. I mean, that would be such an embarrassing party. I don't know. I guess I'm not as forward thinking as Maggie, evidently. But I didn't like the way that Maggie says, she says that she has to go to the kissing party or she'll end up alone like Fran. I was like, that's kind of mean.
Yeah.
Old and alone or whatever.
I did like Fran, being like, playing up to the age after that to be like, girl, no, like that's too much. I'm not that old, first of all. Yeah, and it was just a rude thing to say.
Yes, it was.
It was rude.
Right.
I did love the line when Cece says, I wanted to do 12 Angry Men, and Tal says, but they didn't want to do you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
I was like, I liked Niall at the beginning, his like response to Mr. Sheffield, because there's no hot water. So he was just like, oh, so I can't have a tea? And he hands him, and he's like, here, suck on this, and hands him the tea back. Or he asks if he's been like looking for a plumber, and he's like, no, I've been leafing through the yellow pages for origami supplies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
I
was
feel like
pretty
Niles
snarky.
was like witty. He was on it. All 3 episodes was
Mhm.
ready for everybody and everything to come his way.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah. He's even kind of oogling over the
Oh my
showgirls,
gosh.
and he says, oh God, I want your job, and then he tells Fran, he says, Miss Fine, you spent so much time up this creek, I'd think you'd have a paddle by now.
Yeah.
And that was pretty
Oh,
funny.
and she's like running around freaking out.
Yeah.
I do think it's a little bit weird. I don't know. That's the one thing with this episode. It just is a little bit weird to literally be bringing in like showgirls or whatever just to like ogle them. I don't know.
Yeah.
With all these like kind of weird jokes, I don't know. I think it's always weird when we're just like ogling over people
Right.
and not. Yeah, it's just like okay, well, Brighton being like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" A sports bra or whatever he said to that woman. I was like, okay, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely not 2020.
No,
like,
it's very immature. That's almost like a flashback to the 80s in a way.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff.
yeah, it's just like okay, well, let's move on. They're not even dressed all that I mean, again, it isn't 2020, but I'm like, they're not even dressed all that provocatively or anything.
No.
They're not dressed like showgirls. Why aren't they? Put them if you're gonna do this. Put them in like some big old fabulous
Yeah.
showgirl outfits. Like they're all in their like workout regular clothes.
Yeah,
like,
they're basically look like they're about to go to Jazzercise or something.
yeah.
They're gonna do the Jane Fonda workout.
Yeah, exactly.
I did like when Cece was like looking at the picture. I was like, oh god, these just won't do. They all have the big hair, red lips, whatever else the other one was, and Fran in her big hair and her red lips. So she's like, oh yeah, what in tramps or whatever it was.
Yeah. She also tells Maggie that, have you seen my polygrip?
Yeah,
She's so definitely so old.
yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I don't understand why somebody like Mr. Sheffield doesn't lock the door.
door.
I know.
With a house full of people, like you have a plumber,
Yeah.
like there's a bunch of rando people that have been there all day long. What?
Right. Yeah.
I never
Exactly.
understand it. I don't know. This is where I'm really prude. Is I'm like I don't even when I'm like home alone, I just like close and lock the door. It's an automatic thing for me. So I'm like, whenever these plots happen, it's always like, what are these people doing? This is a full house of people, and you're
Right.
taking a shower.
Yeah, definitely. And but yeah, so this is you keep getting more escalating of sort of this romantic tension between Mr. Sheffield and Fran. And I kind of wonder a little bit maybe if they did too much of that in the first season, because towards the end they really have to stretch that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the seasons, I mean, not even the final season, there was a season where he tells her he loves her, and then they spend the whole next season denying it. Like, they spend so it was like they definitely peaked, and we're like, oh, God, what do we do? Now we're going to do a denial supply, so they do push it a little hard maybe early.
Well, and even after they get married, they have to like end up on this deserted island shipwreck.
Oh my gosh!
Before they finally like consummate the marriage, it's like they stretched even that out so long.
Yes, it's too much.
but anyway, it's kind of fun to see. And so Tiffany dumps Brighton, and he asks Mr. Sheffield if he got dumped, how did it feel? And Mr. Sheffield says, welcome to the battle of the sexes, where they sneak up on you when you're most vulnerable, utterly humiliate you, and leave you trembling, exposed, and naked. So, and Fran does tell Mr. Sheffield, says, you have nothing to be embarrassed about, believe me. So there you go.
Yeah, I did like all the little puns of her like in the room where she's just like, there was nothing to see. Don't worry about that little thing and all of that.
Yeah.
And then she gets one and like stops and it's like, no, that one was okay.
Right.
Now, as predictable as that scene is, and they wrote that into all.
Yeah.
It feels like they wrote it in every comedy.
Oh yeah.
I didn't mind looking at him for a minute.
Yeah. I agree.
He was.
agree.
I think
He's a
it's
nice
so
looking guy.
It's so funny though, that little bar of soap on a string, and she's like, "Oh, you're
Oh,
using
yeah.
that bar I got you for Christmas." So it's just like, oh my gosh. Well, we saw the Christmas episode. That would have been a funny thing to put in there.
Yeah.
But no.
You gotta love a soap on a string.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, this little soap on a string
I
just because you don't have
remember
water.
those. I remember my sister-in-law was an Avon lady, and they sold soap on a rope. That was a thing. It was a big deal. They sold it in the Avon catalogs for years.
That's so weird.
I never had
So
one.
weird.
I always think of girls' camp when I think of soap on a rope, because you'd have to go into
gosh.
you don't want to, it's because it was slippery, so you don't want to lose your soap in the showers. But this is the first one that has the bloopers at the end.
Oh yes.
With her, I don't know why they thought that was particularly hilarious that they had to do that in the blooper reel, but there you go.
Yes.
And so I'd probably give this one a 7.
Yeah, I think that's a good rating.
That's good. I agree.
Yeah. All right. The next one is called Deep Throat. And maybe that title's a bit of a throwback to obviously to Watergate and Deep Throat and everything. I don't even know if people, youngins today know about Deep Throat.
It has a much different connotation today. So.
Oh, does it?
Yes, I was gonna say Watergate was not even what I was thinking of.
I was like, I don't think Watergate is the first thing people think of anymore for when you say that to them. Certainly not youngins.
It was the informant.
Yes.
But also other nefarious things.
Meaning,
we won't defile your beautifully pure mind, Rachel.
Thank you. But all 3 kids are sick, and they have bells, and that was kind of funny to me. And Niles is just getting so irritated.
Yes. Cute.
Yes, and so then so she decides that she's going to take Gracie to the doctors to get checked, and I felt like a little bit it was funny because we're so like sensitive right now about any kind of medical equipment, with masks and other stuff like that, and she's just like dumping the tongue depressors in her bag.
I like that line of like, I don't know what I'd use this for, but I know I'll regret if I don't take it.
Yeah. Yes. And that's when the doctor realizes that Fran needs to have her tonsils out. Mm-hmm. And so she's going to go to surgery. And boy, you could tell the difference between 1993 and 2020, because I mean, she goes into the hospital the day before the surgery. So that I don't think you'd ever have that now certainly not for tonsils, that's for sure.
You didn't have it in the 80s. I had my tonsils out when I was in the 4th grade, and I was in and out in one day.
Yeah.
So they exaggerated that for effect. But, there are some people, depending on your age, maybe older people, meaning not children, who have to have tonsillectomy. I don't know what the rules are on that. Maybe
not polygrip age.
No, but, someone my age now needing a tonsillectomy is different than someone who's 10.
I had to have my tonsils out when I was in 2nd grade, and it was horrible.
Horrible, painful.
Yeah, the medicine made me nauseated, and so I had that in addition to them having take a hammer to my poor throat. It was so painful, and I remember my dad. I didn't want to take the medicine because it made me nauseated, and my dad paid me $20 to take it.
Oh my gosh, Rachel, you were such a spunky child. You get all these stories about you.
I
know.
I mean, when you're the middle child, you kind of got it.
She's like this picture of perfection in these days, but you got to go through that rough patch of being an ornery child.
Oh yeah, for sure. And so I it was awful. It's an awful experience, but I have to say, I have never, the year that I got my tonsils out, I think I had strep throat 6 or 7 times in one year.
Wow.
I've never had it again my whole life.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it worked.
Yeah.
It was worth it.
Good for you.
And yeah.
That's awesome.
Did it work for you, Colleen?
No, I still got sick. I mean,
I get sick, but strep in particular.
I don't think I ever had strep again. I agree. But I had ear issues. I had tubes in my ears right before I had my tonsils out. I had my adenoids taken out, all that stuff. So, I didn't get sick a lot in high school and in the rest of grade school, I guess. Mm-hmm. I guess it worked.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I did think it was funny at the beginning when she's taking care of the kids, and she says, "Oh, I saw my mother's fragrance."
Oh, how fitting right now in 2020.
Yeah.
Hot commodity still.
Yes, it's still hard to get.
She also says the doctor's scales are always 6 pounds over.
Yes. Well, when you're wearing a vest and a shirt, like when you're wearing all that clothes, then maybe she might not be that far off those heels.
Yeah. Yeah. And Gracie says, Fran says, I don't want a gentle doctor. And Fran says, that's Gentile. That made me laugh. I like it when they can ever work at some of that. Her Jewish humor. I think it's funny. Yeah. And because of my experience every time that I have ever had been put under, when I wake up, I always get super nauseous. It makes me, it's not pretty. When I had my eye surgery twice, it was awful. And when I had my appendix out, I got really nauseous. And that's the only time that I've ever stayed overnight in the hospital, except for when I was a baby, was when I had my appendix taken out. I had to stay overnight. And it was the night of the Seinfeld finale. How weird is that? So I watched I watched the Seinfeld finale in the hospital. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You've had like every non-essential part of your body removed, Rachel.
Wow.
I'm just like, wow, she's going through every surgery for the non-essential appendages.
I just need to have my gallbladder out and I'll be set.
Oh, no. Wow.
Yeah. And it was actually a huge struggle with my appendix because I've been in tons of pain and the doctors were just like, oh, it's just cramping. And I'm like, no, it's not. I'm not stupid. And so finally they just like put me under. I didn't know what they were going to do. And I woke up and I was like, what did you do? What did you do to me? And they were like, your appendix was looking green. And so, yeah, they took it out.
Oh my gosh.
But that was a pretty crazy experience. I had no idea they were going to
How old were you?
I was 17.
Oh, I was like, that sounds like malpractice to me. Just wake up and they've taken something out. Like, I didn't sign off on this.
Well, I guess they showed my mom or something.
I was like, if you're 17, yes, I guess technically you don't have to sign off if your parent does, but it made me nervous.
Yeah, they should have told me though. But yeah, they didn't know.
Weird.
It was crazy. Yeah, I had no idea what they were going to take out. And...
Sorry, we took out your spleen while you were under.
Yeah, what are you going to do to me? Anyway, that's my crazy medical history.
And still, that is consistent. So, unlike the childhood, Rachel continues on with the crazy medical history to this day. So,
yes, it's true. So, anyway, so Fran gets super drugged up, and she says, "Mr. Meffield, I want you to have," and then she's like, "Mr. Sheffield." She says, Sister Meffield, I love you. So that's kind of a big moment.
Yeah.
And also there's this whole plot with Cece and her reunion.
Mhm.
And I actually felt kind of bad for Cece.
I was going to say, I think, I don't know. This one, I was definitely on Cece's side. I'm like, yeah, she's having a minor surgery still. I mean, yes, there could be complications, but it's minor.
Right.
And you made a commitment. Like you, you told her you were going with her. So I was like, I don't know, Mr. Sheffield. This is a bit much for me. You should have went with
Reunions
Cece.
are like, you can't cross that line with reunions. That's such a big deal to some people.
I was like, oh, no, I felt bad too. I thought Mr. Sheffield was in the wrong for not going with her from the beginning.
I agree.
Yes.
I felt like
the kids and Niles were perfectly capable of
Yeah.
keeping Fran company when she got out of surgery.
Yeah, because I mean, most of the time you wouldn't be able to support her anyway, just waiting for her to finish
Just waiting.
surgery. Yeah.
Plus, they showed him not get there until it was over. So it was just like, I mean, it was even worse because he missed the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So Cece says, you wouldn't leave me hanging. And Niall says, no, we'd cut you down in a week or two.
Yes.
And so, yes. And later on, he says, yeah, at least when I offer something, people take it.
Oh my God.
And
he had so many in this.
I know.
This one.
Right.
When she was freaking out over getting sick. I was like, everybody, don't come near me. And he's like, we'll try to restrain ourselves.
Yeah.
We'll do our best. Or Fran tries to give her like a cute little compliment of, oh, you don't look old enough to have a reunion. And he's like, for Redwoods, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, he also says, she says, I can't show up without an escort. And he says, why don't you just inflate one like you usually
do? I know he had a lot where she was like, I don't know, I've died and gone to heaven or something. And he was like, I have that dream too, but you go in the opposite direction.
Oh my gosh.
I thought that was probably my favorite line. I don't know why. I just laughed so much. I was like, oh my God, yes. Thick bird.
It was funny. And Mr. Sheffield, he tells the doctor, could you look at her adenoids? And then the doctor says, her adenoids are quite remarkable, but if I removed them, I'm afraid her head would cave in. That was funny. And Mr. Sheffield says, I always thought of her as just the nanny. And so then he makes it to the reunion, but then you see the only person there left is the custodian. So it's pretty lame of him. And so yeah, the fashion this episode starts out with jeans and a white turtleneck, black jacket, and that had like a white striped bodice on the jacket.
That was the first one she was wearing.
Yeah.
Is it like that beige-ish one?
It was like it had like
that beige with the like kind of gold.
Yeah, it had black
portions.
Yeah, it had like black sleeves, but then like a white. I don't even know. Maybe bodice isn't the right word, but like the front part of it was white.
It was that the outfit she sees Cece into, or did she see her with that little hat on when they're in the office? I think she's
no. The hat is next.
Oh. Yeah. So she said that was one thing when Cece's trying to figure out what to wear, and Mr. Sheffield was like, "Well, Fran's outfits always catch attention. Why don't you ask her?" And she was in that hideous coat, and I was like, "Ooh, maybe I wouldn't be asking her for fashion advice when she walked in with that." Yeah, I don't know, that weird like beige burgundy, whatever that coat was with the turtleneck and the jeans. I hated that coat.
Yeah, it was ugly.
Yes.
I don't know if I would have minded if I don't know if it was like a weird little dress maybe, but that as a coat, I don't know. I thought it was hideous. Oh.
Yeah, I agree. And then she had the next one we were talking about with the hat was black pants, black turtleneck, a jacket with a red bodice and black and white striped sleeves, and a black and white triangle hat. It was weird. Like, who wears hats like that?
Again, I don't know. Every time she puts on a hat, I mean, this jacket wasn't that great either, but I don't know. Every time she has a hat on, I'm always like, I could have done without that little hat. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
me
know.
too.
She every time the hat like throws it off for me. But this was a weird jacket too with those sleeves. I don't know. I
Yeah,
was like,
it was weird.
I mean, it wasn't as bad as the first one, so at least we were on like the come up side of things.
Yeah, when she checks into the hospital, she's wearing a flower skirt, a red turtleneck, and an orange jacket. And and then you see
brownish tights.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I actually liked the jacket. I thought the orange jacket was nice. It was a little edgier. It was almost like a biker jacket, almost like, I don't know. I liked the asymmetry of it.
Yeah.
It's so much. Then you have like the red turtleneck and the floral skirt. It's just, and the brown tights. It was just like, okay, the orange jacket paired differently. I would have really liked, but
yeah. And so then she's in yellow PJs.
And those were cute.
Yeah. And then a fluffy white robe with flowers. I think we've seen that one before.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then she leaves the hospital in a pink shirt, flower top, and a flower skirt.
You know, I have a beef with that. When I see people leave the hospital, they don't look so pretty. Never. I know on TV, always look so beautiful. No, people are usually exhausted and trying to recover. They're in their sweatpants and their t-shirts. And I mean, at least speak for me and seeing people around where I work and everything. I mean, that's just what you see when people are discharged.
As someone who just recently visited a hospital, I can confirm that it is not pretty. Not pretty. Yes, I agree. This one, I think I'd also give this one a 7.
Yeah, 7. About an average score, yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, I really like Sister Metfield. I love you. That was a pretty big moment.
Yeah, and I did love that they had her coming in. You hear Niles laughing at him in the hallway when she's like coming in and saying, "I love you" to all the people.
Yeah.
Or that ridiculous like credit scene of her taking out like the water bags, the like IVs.
Oh yeah.
And all of that crazy stuff out of her purse. I was like, I've seen it at restaurants. I don't know if I've ever seen it at a hospital, though, until this crisis broke out and people were like literally going into hospitals to steal hand sanitizer. But
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's outrageous. But I had never seen people just casually like, oh, let me take some of these. I need this from a hospital, just restaurant or hotel.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. They're the good folks over at Skylight Frames. And right now, everyone's looking for the perfect Mother's Day gift. And it can be really hard to find the perfect gift for our moms, something that will be meaningful, but there's something they don't already have. It can be very difficult. And I recently was able to get my parents a Skylight Frame, and it was such a fun gift for them because it not only looks nice and is, a thoughtful gift, but it also helps them to connect with their family members and gets to see the photos of their family with greater ease. And so it's a really nice product. It's a digital frame where people can email you their photos, so they don't even have to download them or upload them onto the frame like a traditional digital frame. They can send the photos directly to your frame, so they could be out hiking or doing some activity and just with their phones upload it right to the frame and you can see it, which is really cool. The frame sets up in under 60 seconds. It has a very easy to use touch screen that allows you to connect with your wireless network, and it's an effortless system to send the photos from your family, and it just makes things very, very easy to stay in touch. It's a black frame that looks like a real photo. You can't even tell the difference between your other photos, your framed artwork, and it has a 10-inch screen. You can swipe through photos with your finger, and it has 100% satisfaction guarantee. If you don't love Skylight, they will offer you a full refund. So now, as a special holiday offer, you can get $10 off your purchase of a Skylight Frame when you go to skylightframe.com/Hallmark and enter code Hallmark. So this is a great thing that you can get for Mother's Day for your mom. And that's $10 off your purchase of Skylight Frame. Just go to skylightframe.com/Hallmark and enter code Hallmark. That's Skylight Frame, SKYLIGHTFRAME.com/Hallmark. Okay, last episode is called Slept Away, and it's about they're trying to go on vacation and they get stuck. They're going to a tropical location, and I thought it was weird. Why did they not have a chauffeur? Why is Niles driving?
That is weird. I don't know.
I agree.
Yeah, it was. And we find out Fran says that her family went to Miami every season, and she's like, wasn't that hot to go in the summer to Miami? And she's like, oh, the off season rate. Fran gives them the buffet advice, which who knows if we'll ever have buffets ever again, like after this. Like,
I
really
hadn't even thought about that. You're right.
Really, I mean, I think they're gone. So Golden Corral's gonna have to come up with a new business strategy. So
Yes.
because she says always go past the rolls right to the lobster and shrimp, which is sound counsel. They get in the limo and she wants to switch with Cece because she'll be backwards. And she's like, I can't drive backwards. And Cece's like, oh, come on. She says, did you see the pea soup scene in The Exorcist?
Yes. Have you seen The Exorcist, Rachel?
I started it and I got about 3 minutes in and I'm like, nope.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
Is that on your blind spot list, Rachel?
I thought about it, but I was just like, nope. This is a bad spirit. I don't feel good.
Especially with all the production that happened, all the behind the scenes, like
True.
Madness, but
it's so good.
Yes, I love it.
I love it.
I'm sure it's very well done.
Watch it in the daytime. It's not so bad. I had to watch The Shining during the day too. I can't watch it in the evening.
Oh, I have seen The Shining, so at least I have that. Okay, anyway, so Fran decides to take a shortcut and they end up at her mother's, and it is kind of surprising they didn't bring Sylvia into the tonsils episode.
Yeah. Oh, she was in Miami? That was the excuse.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, they do an off the cuff, like they're like, why can't your precious parents that we hear about all the time come? And she's like, oh, they're on their they're at their yearly pilgrimage to the sacred land, and she's like, Miami.
Yes, and so Sylvie says you couldn't call and tell a person you were coming. I could have Windexed the couch. That made me laugh.
That was so funny.
I still just like seeing Sylvia like bow to Mr. Sheffield. But she greets him at the door.
Yeah, and I also just laughed that Fran tells Gracie, it won't be so bad. Mom's gonna boil a tongue. I'm like, oh, that's.
I know.
Like, I mean, I think you can make tongue well, but the boiling it, like, ew.
No way.
No way. But anyway, so Fran like dresses up in a like tropical outfit to start the vacation early. And you see her cousin, Kenny, or somebody.
Like a neighbor kid, I think.
Yeah.
Neighbor. Anyway, and so Kenny and Maggie become friends, and they're getting all flirty. And so Fran is in the kitchen getting the tongue out or whatever, and they find a love note from Paul. Chicken.
Yeah, the chicken.
Yeah. The love note from Paul Zelinsky, and they're like throwing it all around. I don't want to touch your chicken. I don't wanna. And so that was pretty funny. And so Fran is very upset with her mom. She thinks she's having an affair, and so she's kind of steaming all night. and they're trying to watch TV, and I can't even remember what my notes. I said Niall's World's Greatest Lover show. What was that?
Oh, because he was wearing that big oversized shirt that said World's Greatest Lover.
Yeah.
Like Sylvia's like, everybody come look. Like, I hope this doesn't come with too high unrealistic expectation.
Yeah, and Cece ends up snuggling up to Niles, thinking it's Mr. Sheffield, and so that's kind of funny. And he also tells Cece they have a desperate women with no prospects package.
That's what I wrote down. That was hysterical.
Also, it was a pretty funny line. I have a standing invitation with a senator. Yes. What some politicians won't do for a vote.
Yeah, that was what I had written down as my favorite line.
Yeah, that was good. And so basically find out that Sylvie's just flirting, and Morty, I guess, is in the know about it, so it's all okay. And but that was I thought a pretty good back and forth between the two of them, that whole conversation. What's with you? What's with you?
That like first letter they read though, I was like, that's a little bit like more than flirting. It's like a legit love letter.
Yeah. All
of this professing your love and forever and all this. I was like, I don't know. That's an intense flirt there, Sylvia.
Yeah. I mean, I would be pretty excited if I got that into my chicken.
Yeah. I do like that she's like, he stuck, look at this, right between the heart and the giblets. Like, talking about how romantic.
Yeah.
That was flirtier than what Sam the Butcher gave Alice and the Brady Bunch, and they were an actual couple.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There you go.
You're right.
But I was like, this felt a little bit more than flirty to me. I was like, I don't know, Sylvia. I do like, because let's be real, I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I'm like, yeah, I think I'd be on board with my partner flirting to get us some really like top of the line shelf products for cheap. You know, go ahead. Make sure you look good before you go down there.
Yeah. You know, my father was a butcher by trade, and that was his job. And he used to tell stories about, some of the older ladies would come and flirt. My dad was flirty, but not in a bad way. He was just a really nice person, a really funny person. Uh-huh. And he would give the women who, would play around and just, have a nice banter with him. I know he gave them all the best cuts of everything, so I think it works. No, I mean, he's just kind of a joke he used to tell stories about some of the old ladies that would come in. I mean, they were like old ladies, but they would be like, it's Fox, blah blah blah, and I know he would help with hook them up with meat.
Yeah,
true story. I'm not kidding you.
Yeah,
you find out that the stereotype holds some real world value, huh?
It does a little bit, yeah.
It kind of
a long time ago, but it worked.
That reminds me of I think it's called Must Love Dogs. It's not the best movie with Diane Lane.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
But that whole scene with the butcher when he's trying to upsell her the whole time, and she's like, I just want one chicken breast wrapped up. I don't want a deal. I don't want the family plan. I don't want just one chicken.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, so then they finally get out and they get on their trip, and so the fashion, you started out with her white robe with the roses, which we've seen, and then a black skirt, green, white, and red jacket with these stripes. We're down a black turtleneck, of course, and a white hat. And then she had a black skirt, black turtleneck, and a multicolored jacket. That was the only way I think to describe it.
Yeah, it was in the
it was a lot. And then she put her red puffy coat that we've seen before.
Did you notice the back of the jacket was fringy? Like it was cut up in the back. So when she when she crawled over in the limo, I was like, "What's wrong with the back of her jacket?"
Oh my gosh!
I didn't notice that. Yeah, you have to look. It's like kind of cut, like thick, like almost like thick pieces of fabric. It's weird.
And I don't even know what you call that tropical outfit. I was just like, it's a tropical outfit.
Ugly.
I don't even know. So it's like the Chiquita banana lady.
Yes. Where's her big? Yeah, Carmen Miranda. She
Carmen
needs
Miranda.
Yeah.
her
She needs a big
fruit on
fruit
her head.
hat.
There you go.
And then she had a really weird robe that's obviously supposed to be Sylvia's, I think, but it looked like it was
patchwork. Weird.
Yeah, it was made out of like scraps. At first I thought it was made out of ties. You know, some people do that. They'll make like but it was just like weird scraps of fabric. It was strange. And then you see her in a red and regular leopard print PJs that she had. And so, yeah, it was an interesting fashion episode. But this one I would go lower than the other ones.
Yeah.
I would probably give this one a 6, I think is fair.
Yeah, 6 is fair.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I like that one. I like this one a little. I'll do 6.5. It wasn't as good as the others, but I did enjoy it. I got a kick out of it.
I just think, I don't know if it's just airfare in general, but every time it's depicted on the show, I'm like, what in the world were airports in the 90s? Like, I don't know. I'm like, don't you have a time? Because they're, just dallying around. Yeah. I'm like, don't you have to be at the airport at a certain time? Did you not book your? Are you just going to show up and buy tickets when you get there and wing
they live in Manhattan. It's not like there's 2 airports within. I mean, literally, there's LaGuardia, JFK, and if you really had to go to Newark, it's not that far. I mean, there's 3 airports in the area.
Yeah, it's just this like, what in the world? This is like, apparently they were just going to show up and talk to a travel agent and go. I don't know, but.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, just everything's so different post 9/11. It's really hard to, I don't know, compare it. It's so different. I mean, security was so different. I mean, you could run all the way up to the gate, even though you weren't a guest. I mean, even something like Home Alone. That's why when they said they're making a remake of Home Alone, I'm like, that doesn't make sense on so many levels. What? And I mean, because everybody has a cell phone now, and like it just makes no sense. And so, but I don't know. I guess they're gonna come up with something. I guess they could always make it. They could always make it set in the 90s, I guess, but it's just weird. But yeah, it's true. And I kind of miss. I mean, that was such a rom-com staple, the rush to the airport kind of thing. But it's hard to work it in. Every once in a while, they'll try in Hallmark, and it's just never quite the same as it used to be. The airports
are, it's not. It's just not realistic. And I know that's not really the point, but it's very unrealistic.
Yeah.
The most I've seen is one of the Christmas movies talking about security. I mean, that's like the most you ever hear about anything that really happens now.
Right. So. Like occasionally they'll have where a flight gets canceled or something, like a little bit, but it's just not the same as it used to be. Right. But anyway, so well, this has been a lot of fun. Let us know if you're listening what you think of these episodes. And Larry, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube as well as Instagram and Twitter, all at LC Screen Talk.
Great. And Colleen, where can people find you?
I am on Instagram and Twitter at Lily44094.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So make sure to check that out. And make sure you're following us on Twitter at Francast14. We would love to connect with you there. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Make sure you're subscribed to Hallmarkies podcast as well. We would certainly appreciate that. And so thanks so much, everybody. And we'll talk to you all next week. Bye.
Bye.